Good afternoon, and welcome to Blindformers. I am your host, Blind Prime, and for today, I have for you Transformers Studios Series 86 Skurge. Here he is right here, and all of his menacing 80s villain glory. He's a pretty neat little guy. Totally got the circles and columns that the typical 80s Transformer had from that movie. Really cool design. I like him a lot. He has some siege ports, but for some reason one of his hands, apparently it's so that he can grab the matrix of leadership. Like I have the matrix here. Supposedly you could just put it in his hand like that. There it is. Yeah, Skurge has got the matrix in his hand now. He's the controller of the Autobots. Alright, put that away. So, siege port wise, he's got 3, 4, 5, because only 2 on one arm. Then 6 and 7 for the legs, and on his back, he doesn't really have one. So, there's that. I mean, as siege ports go, he doesn't even... No, he does. He has 2 on his feet. So, that's 4 for the legs, and then 5. So 9 siege ports overall. Not a bad thing, but definitely way below the average. Then again, there have been some that have had far less than that. He's got this cool little popped-up collar around his neck. I thought that was cool. But let's get into his height-wise. Let's get the little peg thing out here, and I'll just set it right there. There we go. Yeah. You figure it out. You'll figure it out. Yes, you will. We'll measure him from the top of his weird little crown bit, and we get 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 studs tall in his bot mode. Compare him with Bumblebee, and we get a Bumblebee. Don't fall over now. Come on, Skurge. Bumblebee isn't that scary. We get the Bumblebee measuring all the way up to midway up Skurge's stomach midsection. His sculpting's pretty cool. Skurge is pretty neat. Can Skurge's open hand do some more fun things? Like grab puny Autobots? Yeah. Using the negative zone, the spot that should have been filled by plastic, Skurge can totally just grab up Bumblebee by his arm. Yeah, go away. Go away, Bumblebee. We don't need you anymore. We're about to do transformation. Alright. So, for transformation, it's best to start with his head. It's always good to start with the head when you can. So, grab the head with one hand, hold the body around the legs with the other, and then kind of move it back and forth a bit until you can fold it out. It's best if you take his little side bits here. He's got these 2 giant wing things on his back. It's best if you move those as far away from the center of the back as possible to allow clearance for his head assembly to fold backwards. Once that's done, which it's pretty easy to do, you're going to go ahead and just go down to his feet and fold his toes in. The heel goes in first, so fold in the heel, followed by folding in the front of the foot. Fold in the heel, then the front of the foot, and you're done with his feet, other than to combine them together. And if you look right, basically on the other side of the foot from each siege port is on one leg a little nubbin, and on the other leg a little hole. And you can actually take that little nubbin and you can plug it into that little hole if you get it right. It's really small, but once you do it, it's done. Kind of cool like that. I do enjoy those things. Once you do them, they're done. Alright, so on to the rest of him. I'm going to do with his head is we're going to take this bit that's right behind his main head, and it's got this crazy big vent feeling thing on it. That's going to fold up, but it's going to fold up in such a way to capture the pointy bit. So on top of Skurge's head, there's this weird 80s like I don't know what you would call it. It's a mixture between a Spartan mohawk top on their helmets, but it's circular. It's like somebody took a roll and laid it across the top of someone's head. But on one end, it gets thin and it tapers down to a point. Well, that end with the point on it is actually going to fit into a hole that's in the that thing that we're folding up. We're connecting the head to this little pointy thing on the back that is a really cool guy. But once the head fits in there, it's going to fit in there really nice, and then it just folds on back like so. To assist in the fold back process, give it a yank, because what you want to do is on the back of, there's a big flat panel. Well, not too big, but it's a flat panel that's got a cut in it, like a U cut, except it's got a flat bottom. On the inside of that panel, there are two little bitty holes for some pegs to go into, peg holes. And if you feel on the feet, right above where you folded in the heel, and drag your fingers down, and you'll feel that there are these two, little pegs. Well, these two little holes will go into those two little pegs. And what this will do is really help stabilize the figure for the next part. So we're just going to plug it in, because the two little nubbins that hold the feet together, or the one little nubbin bit that holds the feet together, isn't quite strong enough to do the job on its own. But once you plug this panel in, you plug it in nice and tight, it changes into actually being very, very sturdy. Now, time for the interesting bits. You want to straighten out both of the arms, and then you want to break them from the core of the figure. And this can be done by grabbing the arm with one hand, and then taking your thumb with the other and putting it right below the armpit. You'll feel with your thumb that there is a bulge like a hinge. So you want to put your thumb there and pull down with your hand. We'll do it on the other side too. Listen, there's a small pop. Hear that? That's a good noise. It's a good noise for this figure. So now you've loosened these guys up. Spin the arms, because what we want to do is lay them flat. So spin each arm 180 degrees at the shoulder. Well, right where you plucked it off, where the arm can do all of its motions. Spin the siege port 180 degrees. That's a better way of putting it. Once done, you can raise the arm up to then lay flat. So that's complete. Maybe I did that part wrong. I totally did that part wrong. What did I screw up here? Don't spin the arm 180 degrees. Maybe? Yeah. Don't worry about spinning the arm 180 degrees. Scratch that last bit I gave you. That was wrong. Totally wrong. Make sure that the siege ports on the arms are facing outwards, because there are, once again, two little pegs, right? This time it's above the siege port in the leg, so take your finger on the leg, feel your finger up, you'll find a rectangular peg, and then on the arm, feel where the hand is, and then feel on the way up, just on the inside of the arm, directly across from where the siege port is located, you will feel that there's a little rectangular hole, and you'll want to get those guys plugged in. So we're going to follow the same process with the other side. And we're just going to feel around. We're going to feel it. We're going to find that rectangular hole with our finger, and then we're going to match it with the rectangular peg on the side of the leg. And once we have finished that, it's now time for the easy part. The easy part being, take these weird doohickeys on his back and fold them down flat. So there we go. Then you want to, there's a folded up bit that lays really long. You want to feel towards the end of that. There is a bit that is feels like a cylinder or most of a cylinder, and it's on a hinge. You can unfold that. You want to follow the process on the other side. Remember, most of this is do onto one side as you do onto the other, unless otherwise stated. So you want to get that stuff situated. Get that guy situated. Okay. Once you've gotten everything straightened out and not clicked together, just laid across, we want to do the final bit, which is bring in both of these on they have like butterfly hinges on the back, which is a term I am learning, meaning that there is a bar hinge or a bar with a hinge on each end. And that I think is called butterfly hinge. So you want to bring both of those in so that these back panels that we've been straightening out, there's two big ones that taper to a point, one on each side, and it's obvious that they connect together. So we're just using these butterfly hinges to squeeze them in tightly to one another, and they will click together quite nicely. And then on the other side, these little flappy things actually fold shut on his underside because he's a type of bomber. So of course he's got to have some bomb doors, I mean, bomb doors. They're bomb doors. All right. Now, let's take the other bits and those long bits that I told you to unfold the little half columns out of. You want to lay across his arms, and these little circular half column bits will actually fold over the arms to hide them, and they don't really plug in strongly, but they're supposed to, I think. They just don't. They just kind of sit there. There's always that problem in anything studio series related. There's always that one part where you're just like, I wish this pegged in, but it doesn't. Once you've straightened out both of those sides and folded the bits over the hands, on the top of what is now becoming the crazy spaceship, you'll find there's two little weird 80s engine things, pardon me, on the back, and you want to straighten those out. Once you've done that, right above his head is a flap, and that can close down or open up. There's a part in the movie where he's talking to Megatron, and this little cockpit thing is open, and it's actually his head, and then the cockpit can actually shut and hide his head. Pretty neat. I thought it was a cool little bit. It was neat that they included it, randomly so, because it was just such a small scene. But here we go with Studio Series 86 Skurge. His vehicle mode is none too impressive. I have to say it is definitely an 80s spaceship. It's got a cool pointy bit. It's got a neat little open tray underneath that pointy bit. It's got these sleek lines and these curves. It's lines and curves and circles and points. And it's wild. It's definitely a cool little guy to just play around with and feel all just the odd sci-fi of the 80s. That's so neat. Alright, so vehicle mode wise, let me get him situated. We get, let's see, vehicle mode. Stick the backs of his feet, which are still the bottoms of it, to the end of the mat. And this goes all the way up to there. So that is 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 22 studs long in his vehicle mode. And in vehicle mode, he is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wow, 10 studs wide in your vehicle mode, dear. You are a wide guy. We'll get him compared with Cliff Jumper real quick. Where you at, Cliff Jumper? Don't hide from me. There you are. There you are. All right. Cliff Jumper goes from the back end of one of his side engines, which covers his hand, Skurge's hand, and the Tip of the hood goes right to the right before the tip starts tapering forwards to make that nice little point on the crazy 80s weird spaceship. So that's pretty neat. Um, Overall, Skurge is pretty cool. There's a few little neat tidbits, like if you unfold his feet a little bit, just a bit, just the toes, you can set him up on his end, make him look like a spaceship about to take off. He's got a point buried in his midsection where you can plug in a stand for a flight stand, but you have to really get it in there, and you have to untransform him a little bit to even set the stand point in place, kind of like you have to do with the Seeker molds from the Siege line. I just say his transformation. He's a form folder. He's a faux former. He has basically a shield or a big old area of his body that is just big panels that fold into place, but not much of the robot parts are seen in vehicle mode because most everything covers it. That's a faux former. So he's got a bit of that. He's a little more complicated than some other faux formers that I know, especially when it comes to the fact that his head ends up, so far down his legs. That's pretty cool. That was a neat little trick they did. Overall, yeah, transformation wise, I'll give him a 4 out of 5, 4 out of 10, because he's not really that complicated, but he's still kind of complicated. The feels for it. Oh, I get the feels heavy on this guy. He's got some cool shapes. I remember watching the movie with him. He definitely takes me back. Ever since losing my vision, it's nice to get things like this that give me, kind of a physical reminder of something. So if I go back and watch the movie, I've got a Skurge I can look at and understand what's going on in the movie and try and remember it better. So definitely on that end, he gets a 7 out of 10. He's not quite there. I wish the transformation was a bit more complicated, but 7 out of 10 just because it's Skurge. Now I got to get the sweeps, which I really hope that they get around to giving us very shortly in Hasbro. But anyway, I am Blind Prime, and you've been watching Blindformers, and this has been Studio Series 86 Skurge. Oh, and before I go, there are 0 siege ports in his vehicle mode. Sad to say, not a single one. Missed opportunity, in my opinion. Missed opportunity. But until next time, I am Blind Prime, and you've been watching Blindformers.